My concern isn't about the debt. My concern is about the U.S.'s relationship inside the world as an economic leader. And will we lose that position? All right, what does this mean? It means we're going to have a recession, maybe. That's what it means. It means the Fed hasn't given up their focus on having a recession or having at least a downturn. They talk a lot about a soft landing, and I kind of don't believe, based on their words, that they're going to really want a soft landing. They're going to want to see pain. What are we going to do? We're going to stay calm and keep breathing. I'm here because I've lost money and I've gained money in real estate. I'm here because I'm a consultant and I love talking to people about how they can use money to create their financial freedom and their peace. I am here for that reason. Those are my scars and t-shirts. But really what's important is, why are you here? What had you get out of your comfortable home tonight in the middle of LA traffic and get your butt in this seat? There's a reason why you're here. And the reason why you're here isn't because of me. It's not because I'm so cute. Or that I have good jokes. Actually, I tell the same jokes every time. As you belong to this community long enough, you will know my jokes. You'll know the punchline before I even get there. It's not my jokes. You're here because there's something you want. You probably want something akin to feeling peaceful, feeling in control, and feeling like you're at choice. Okay, who's here because they want millions and millions and millions of dollars? Let me have that conversation. Okay, Glenn wants millions and millions and millions of dollars. See, these are my three, they all know me. They know perfectly well what comes next. Right, if you want millions and millions and millions of dollars, what are you going to do with it? You're going to stick it in a mattress, right? And you're going to sleep on it because it's so comfortable. Oh, money is just so comfortable to sleep on, right? That's why we want millions of dollars? No? You want millions of dollars so you can have $5 million sitting in the bank and having it do nothing and still keeping your job. Because that's money. You said you want money, don't you? Well, is that having $5 million in the bank account? That's money. That's not what you want, is it? What do you want from that money? What do you want? Freedom.
Peace.
Huh?
Impact.
Impact. Peace. What do you want from that money? JC, what do you want from that money? Freedom and retirement. That's what you want. You don't want money. You may or may not even want real estate. You want freedom, you want impact, you want control, you want leadership, you want security, you want calm. Choice. You want choice. That's why you're here. You're here so that you can be educated about real estate. You're here because you have a freedom, an image in your brain that constitutes what freedom looks like for you. And real estate and investing is part of that image. That's what brought you tonight.
And your sidekick.
And my little sidekick. All right, that's what brought you tonight. The possibility of charting your own course, that's why you're here. That's why you're here. All right, and today is not May 2022 economic update. You can see I've been updating the same slides every year, so there you go. It's now 2024, but guess what? It's April, it's almost May. That's why you're here. You're here because of this. Okay, I am not a lawyer and I am not a CPA. I am a lady who's been investing for over 35 years in real estate, and I'm going to give you my best understanding. Do you promise not to sue me?
Yes.
Great. We're in agreement. Real estate, what are we seeing? Is it the upper left or the lower right? Is today a good day to leap or not? So I'm going to go through U.S. real estate. I'm going to go through California real estate. I'm going to go through U.S. economy, and then I'm going to tell you what I think it means. Now, for those of you who wanted to stay for 3 minutes, you guys want the bottom line?
Yes.
Okay, bottom line. We are at a point where what the Fed chooses to do in the next 6 to 8 months is going to be the definer. Period. That's the bottom line. Not in my control. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm going to guess at what they're going to do, but I don't know what they're going to do. But what they do will be the definer, because this economy is sitting like this. That's what it's doing. Okay, there you go. Good night. Okay, you want to know why I say it's sitting like this? Okay, oh man. What about the elections? So here's what I've noticed. The economy moves almost regardless of who's in office. You asked the question, right, Nick? Okay. The economy moves almost. So when you look at election data and you look at whether or not interest rates go up or go down in relationship to who is coming into office, the data is almost completely split. It is not a particular party that will increase or decrease interest rates. There's no data that suggests that one works better than the other. What the data suggests is they will increase or decrease interest rates in order to make their constituency happy. That's what the data suggests. So I understand there's a lot of conversation about it, but I don't find it in the numbers. And I try really hard to go to the numbers and not to the heat. I try to stay away from the heat. Does that make sense? So for those who are technical traders, the head and shoulders is the head and shoulders. There's a break point where stuff moves. It's not about my opinion. Does that answer your question?
I just view real estate in a cycle. So do you
Yes?
I think the cycle is longer than what we expect. People think we're right around the corner from rate drops.
Uh-huh.
And that corner is a lot longer. In 2022, we thought rates were going to drop with the increase.
Yeah.
I
I agree with you. I think
know.
rate drops are not around the corner.
You know, they're supposed to give 3 rate drops in 2024.
We thought it was going to be 6 just 3 months ago. Now we think it's 3. Now I'm hearing some people think it's going to be 1. Or none. So does that get closer to the answer you were looking for?
I'm not looking for an answer.
Okay. Did I kind of answer his question? Did I do a good job of answering his question with there is no concrete answer to that question? Okay, cool. All right. Let's do it. USA real estate. What is the national market doing? Here we go. Longer cycles, 10.5 years, 2009 to 2020. Now here we are, Q1 of 2023. We've got 3 years of upturn. What happened in 2020 that completely changed the way we expected the real estate market to behave? COVID. I, at the beginning of COVID, was like, oh man, real estate's going to have to crash. They can't sell real estate. Nobody can see it. How are they going to sell it? Interest rate dropped like crazy. And what I didn't see in COVID, and even Bruce Norris and I had a conversation about it, was people wanted to move. Did anybody see that coming? Did anybody in this audience see that coming, that people wanted to move during COVID? Who knew when you lock people in their homes, all of a sudden they get pissed about it and they want to change houses? Oh my God. So people moved. And it drove this. And it took a cycle that looked like it was going to be flat, and it pushed it up. And it made this cycle much longer than we expected it to be. All right, but that's where we are. Notice the little tick at the bottom, right here? We're going to do a lot of this tonight. You see, doop, doop, boop, boop. See the boop, boop at the very end? We're going to talk a lot about the boop, boop. Just saying, it's going to be a very boop, boop tonight. Boop, ba-doop. All right. All right, what is the national market doing? There we go. Well, so that's a drive in on the same. I'm going to try to move through these slides as quickly as I can, just highlighting that information you need. But I really get attached to my slides because I want you to understand that it's not an opinion, hopefully. Hopefully it's based on something we can all observe, hopefully. If you catch me in an opinion, you tell me, okay? Good? All right. Although there's hardly no way to, almost impossible to not just have an opinion. All right. Why is I'm not moving forward? What did I do? Oh, that's what I did. Okay. Case-Shiller. So this is the U.S. National 10 city and 20 city. Seeing the same thing. They all went up together. They all did the same thing. Obviously, the top 10 cities went higher than the 20, because that's the purple line. Guess what? LA is the top 10 city, right? LA, Chicago, San Francisco, New York, all of them are more volatile cities to invest in than the secondary and tertiary cities, almost all of them. What does that mean? It means you want to ride the appreciation pony, you need to know what the economy is doing. National real estate sales by volume. Volume. Anybody aware of the conversation that's going on around volume? Huh? Volume is exploding right now. Boop, boop. Right now, volume's exploding. What has been happening to volume in the last year? So, if something's not selling, how can we get a new price point on it? If we don't have a lot of it, supply and demand. Real estate's just supply and demand. Macroeconomics, supply and demand. If we don't have a lot of supply, we could have very little demand and we still have a lot of price increase. Because all it takes is less supply than demand. My supply can be 3. If my demand's 5, I'm going to still have more demand than supply. If my supply is 7 and my demand is 5, what happens to my price? It goes down. Volume is lack of supply. So volume's been way down. But now it's going back up again. Okay, national sales by volume, another chart, longer chart. Volume, volume, volume. Right? Disappeared, went up. Volume. Went up, went down. A lot of arrows. Okay, California's volume. Right? What are we seeing? We're seeing goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down, goes down. Volume went down. Everybody moved during COVID. People weren't willing to move. Interest rates started going up. People weren't willing to change houses. So volume has been a consistent conversation. This is this year to date, February, 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 February. Okay, so volume has been a problem. We've seen that the prices have gone doing what they're done. They've gone up, they've gone down, and there's a down up. But volume is part of what makes everything sticky. They literally call it sticky. All right, so recessions. So here's what I want to get into. See this? Recession, 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 recession. You see this? Recessions are a regular thing. The economy breathes in and it breathes out. Everybody loves when it's breathing in. Nobody likes when it's breathing out. But it breathes in and breathes out. So none of us should be surprised. It's going to breathe in, it's going to breathe out. See, now I have these blue boxes because here's what I want to show you. See, this is a recession. What happened to the national real estate price? It dropped, but then how quickly did it recover? See this one? Did it drop? Nope. See that one? Did it drop? See that one? Did it drop? So here's what we need to understand about real estate recessions. 7 years up, 1.5 years down. 4 years up, we're not too sure because it didn't really go down. 5 years up, 2.5 years down. How much did it go down? 14% here. Change was positive 2.6% there. Right? Arrows and boxes. Here comes more. Now, let me go back. This is the Fed and the peak of the funds rate. Right? It's down, it's down, down. They increased it, they pushed it down, they pushed it up. That's the red line, the funds rate. See the recession box? See what happened to real estate. These are the 80s. The 80s was a wild time. See, I chose that as the peak of the funds rate. There were several. There's this one, that one. But I chose that one because that was the last major increase. What happened? When was the recession? And what happened to real estate? So there's a relationship, a direct relationship, between the funds rate and recessions. Direct relationship, but there's not a direct relationship between the fund rate and real estate prices going down. You would think there would be. Doesn't it seem like there should be? but there's not. Right? 7 years, minus 8%. 10 years, minus 4.8%. 7 years, this one was 23%. And the down lasted 3 years, 6 months, 1 year. That was different between 2009 and 2012. I can tell you a story about buying a condo in 2010 thinking, ha ha, we should be done. Guess what? We weren't done. Okay, so what does a downturn look like? That's what a downturn looks like. 7 years, 10 years, 7 years, 1 year, 6 months, unusual to be 3. What's the national price? -8, -5. Right, just letting you know. This is just education on what recessions look like. Here comes a bunch of boxes and arrows. Okay, boxes only. That one? Any questions, or are you just looking? Let me take it in for a minute. Just take it in for a minute. Take it in for. I'm just looking at charts. I'm just going, okay. Here's the chart. How do recessions behave? That's how they behave. 7 years, 10 years. Some would say that 1991 to 2007 was almost like one big long upturn because real estate itself didn't experience it, but I'm counting recessionary periods. I'm not counting real estate periods. Okay? Okay. All right. Now let's have a conversation about funds rate again. Here's the peak, here's the recession. Here's the peak, here's the recession. Here's the peak, here's the recession. So there's some slide in here where I really talk about, because Kathy Fetke, anybody know Kathy Fetke? She was the first one who truly pointed that out to me. I was sitting in a chair like that, and she put that chart up there. I'm like, freeze the chart. Are you serious? I felt exactly that way, although she didn't freeze it for me that day. I'm just saying. All right.
But she gives her slides.
But she does. So this is just a sort of a primer of, well, what does it mean to have a recession? Does real estate go down? Not necessarily. One would think it does. What's our takeaway? But does having the funds rate move create a recession? Yes, it does. That is the intention. The Fed may not tell you that, but that is the intention. The intention is to slow the economy down, potentially to a recession. That is the intention of increasing the federal funds rate. Its intention is to create greater unemployment. Its intention is to create people burning through their savings account. That's the intention, is to slow down the movement of currency, which slows down supply and demand, which causes inflation to go back down. It's just a vehicle. I turn over the engine in my car, and that does a chain reaction in my car, and all of a sudden I have gas, and all of a sudden I can move the car forward. Gas is moved from one place to another, and I move my car forward. It's just a series of interactions that's intentional. All right. National real estate supply. So supply and demand. Did I mention about supply? Supply and demand. Let's see. Okay, there are my arrows. So months supply. Generally, in a market, months supply is at balance between supply and demand at 6 months. Historically, that's been considered the balance point. And I used to have a bar across here. It's not there right now. 6 is about here, right? So supply goes way up. When the month supply goes above 10, that's a seller's market. Sorry, that's a buyer's market. I flipped it. Buyer's market. Not surprising, 80s. See the double recession here? That's our 80s, right? Goes up, goes up, goes up. We had a recession that was COVID. That doesn't count. It's going up. That generally means if we passed across 6 months, then we should start seeing a buyer's market, right? Are we seeing a buyer's market? Can you buy any property you want at any price you want? Or no, who are my agents in the room? Are you guys seeing a buyer's market? Nope, isn't happening. Real news on the street is seller's market. Sellers are still getting the demanding a price, and many of them are getting it. So why is that happening? How is that possible?
It also depends on like what price. If it's like $1 million condo, 5 days off. If
Uh-huh.
it's like a 7+ or 5+, it's taking a minute. Even the 2s.
Okay. Active real estate agent. He's breaking down the numbers. That national number isn't giving me quite enough information, is what we're hearing, right? So supply is going up, but not every city is experiencing it, and not every price point is experiencing it. And I didn't go deeper than just California because I just couldn't. I'm like, okay. But you can in your region. Glenn can tell you all about local LA. Okay, pending sales. Pending sales is a leading indicator in real estate. If pending sales are increasing, that means the market is softening, right? No. Did I flip that, Glenn? I flipped it, didn't I? Pending sales. If I have increasing pending sales, that means more things are being sold. Sorry, if I have decreasing pending sales, that means less things are being sold. I flipped it. So less things are being sold. Until what? Boop, boop. I know. It's a little boop, boop. Oh my God. Boop, boop. So wait a minute. The market was getting softer. Volume was going up. Pending sales was going down. We should see a decrease in price, right? Boop, boop. Sorry. You're going to get really tired of me saying that as we go through the night. All right, there's my boop boop. Here we go. Special topic, is it the 80s again? That is my concern. Right? What happened in the 80s? Massive interest rates. Massive interest rates. Started here in 1977, went all the way up here in 1981. Do you know how many banks closed after this? It was over 1,600 banks. How many banks have we had closed so far in this cycle? 1,600 banks were closed or restructured, believe it or not, in the total time period within that 10 years. Look it up. But most of them were not significant enough that people noticed. We've had 3 that we've noticed. But what happened in the 80s? What happened in the 80s was the Feds increased their interest rate, their lending rate, and then they went, whew, guess what? We're up here. Oh my God, everything's slowing down. Isn't that great? And they dropped the rate, didn't they? Exactly. And then when they went, oh shit, literally, thank God there's nobody under 18 here tonight, and they shot it right back up again. That's what they did in the 80s, right? So here we are now. Okay, I'm going to read through this quickly. The 70s saw growing federal deficit. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I have a bunch of boxes. There they are. Okay, budget deficit. Are we having that? Right? Price hikes. Are we having that? Right? Unemployment without a cooling inflation. We actually do have employment, though. The Fed Reserve was propping up the growth. They allowed for inflation to happen because of external economic shock. They increased government spending. And the result was inflation was so high it required 2 recessions to reduce. So this is my same version, just saying that again. Okay? The federal government was hoping that increased government handouts and tax incentives and keeping rates low would counter a downturn. That's what we did now. The resulting inflation was so high it required 2 recessions to reduce. Under Fed Chairman Paul Volcker, the prime lending rate exceeded 21% to help curb growth. Inflation and inflation expectations remained high. When the tightening began, rising interest rates lowered output and employment rather than capped prices, which continued to increase. The question is, will this happen again? That's actually my concern. That's actually my question. Will this happen again? And that's why I'm paying so much attention to the, who's going to say it with me? Boop, boop. Come on, guys. I told you I tried to make it at least a little entertaining. This is economics, okay? This is as entertaining as it gets, okay? We are talking economics here. All right, California real estate. Just so you know, California is more volatile than a lot of other places. We just need to be aware of that. Did I mention I lost a lot of money in the downturn? Did I tell you? Yeah, okay. All right, these happen for those of you who belonged in different places. This is what you want to look at. This line is the United States. Pick wherever you own or wherever you want to invest. It just shows you that everything is moving, but I wanted to show it by larger cities in California. Can I move on? Okay. This is tiered, right? Higher price tiers, medium price tiers, lower price tiers, right? I think that's the higher, is the blue. I lost my lines. Did I not label my lines? I did not label my lines. Apologize, did not label on my lines. I think the higher is the blue, and I think it literally is upper tier. Oh, there it is. Lower pricing, I'm wrong. Mid-tier, high tier. That's what's happening by tiers. Okay? So, who's having the bigger effect? Right? Lower tier pricing went higher, but it's still a little slightly higher than the others. But there's tier effect, like you're saying. Don't know that this chart gives us that information, but I'm showing it to you because it's my discipline. My discipline is to go through a certain series of charts to try to see if there's any information showing itself there. Because in 2007, 8, and 9, this was much more significant. Seth?
Does that look like a prediction for home prices to go down?
Yes, that is a prediction. This is, yes?
Where we were in 2008 versus what you're predicting.
Okay, so that's not my prediction, that's
I
their
understand,
prediction, but okay.
Their prediction.
You're talking about here? And they're predicting, whoops. They're predicting whoops. I am predicting whoops.
What they are predicting, yes.
You gonna help me, Glenn? I'll take help. Do I need help? Straighten me out.
Yeah, is it better?
So who invests in stocks? Invest in stocks as well. Okay. Do you remember how they talked about the lost decade? Wasn't that long ago, right? The lost decade? Where basically stocks went up, went down, went back up again, but it took almost 10 years for it to hit where it was before. I invest in stocks too. So is this a lost decade? Now here's my take on it. What I've noticed in real estate cycles, which I don't have the right chart of, is it goes down, it goes up higher than it was before, it goes down, it goes up higher than it was before. But this was such an astronomical increase that the concern is that if it goes down further, if it's allowed to go down further, it will go down almost in relationship to how high it went. That's the concern. And that's what they're projecting. That's not what's happened, but that's what they're projecting. That you give back almost 60 to 70% of the gain before you hit bottom and then go back up again. Now, I'm not agreeing with this projection, it just happens to be part of the chart. Okay, is it okay if I don't agree with the projection? You don't agree either? I don't agree with that projection either. All right, California. This is another boop boop. Ready? Shares of homes sold above asking, almost 50%, a 7-month high. Sales moderated, this comes from cars. This is not me, I didn't make it up. Sales as moderated as mortgage rates continue to fluctuate. We still sold lots. Price per square foot has gone up. Highest levels since May of 2022, so it's gone up since. This is median California home price. Went January 2023, interest rates started going up, prices started softening, and it went up and it went down and went boop boop. I told you I'm going to get tired of hearing me say boop boop. See the boop boop? See the boop boop? Boop boop. All right. New listings continue to grow above last year's level by double digits since the first of the year. Okay, anybody got a theory as to why home sales went up Prices have continued to gone up. Volume went back down again. Anybody got a theory? Lack of inventory? Rate prisoners, people not willing to sell because they're stuck in their home with the low rates. Rate prisoners, okay. No inventory, lack of volume. Lack of volume can be, lack of sales happening can be because the price is too high, people don't like it, there's too much spread between buyer and seller. Can be having to do with everything being snatched up. But in this case, it's literally people aren't putting their homes on the market. Lack of volume. Okay. Volume, 33 of 53 counties tracked by CAR recorded a sales decline. Did I just see a sales decline? I didn't. On that previous chart, I saw an increase, didn't I? But the sales declined. And what's important to me about this and looking at data is that 33 of the 53 counties, that's more than 50%. It's not all 100, but it's close to 50%. Wait a minute, that's a boop boop in the opposite direction, isn't it?
It sounds like the other 20 counties are doing exceptional.
That means the other 20 counties are doing volume. What?
Can you explain what CARS is?
California Association of Realtors. Did anybody not know what CARS is?
I don't work in life insurance.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Max. California Association of Realtors. NARS is not narcotics or drugs. It's the National Association of Realtors.
Or an Australian saying no.
Or an Australian saying no. That's good, Glenn. I like that. CARS. So if you're driving your car, you're in California, California Association of Realtors. There you go. What I do. See, I told you I need tech help. All right, median home prices reached the highest level in 7 months. Okay, record sales declined, volume of sales declined, but prices went up. Sellers begin to accept the new normal. This is so important. On the supply side, number of properties being listed on the market as more sellers begin to accept the new normal. What that means is that the space between the buyer and the sellers will be starting to close. People will go, oh yeah, my home just isn't as worth as much as I thought it was. I was excited about how much my home was worth, but guess what? It's not, but I still need to sell. So now I'll accept a lower price. That means volume, sales activity will increase because we're more successful at closing sales. 1 million and higher market segment continued to grow year over year in March. That's what it says here. Sales are tiered. Sales of homes priced at or above $1 million in California have been holding up better than those more affordable counterparts in the state in the last few months. That's what California Association of Realtors says. Now, I know that's the market you play in, but you're saying 2, 3, 5 million. Because part of what's happening in some of the lower markets in that 1 million mark, in my understanding, is you have more people who can afford to buy it cash. And so they're not relying on the interest rate. Okay.
Can I say something? I feel like also there's buyers have begun to accept the new normal. You know, they understand that it's like I can't really wait. I need to maybe get my skin in the game, and that's why even in that buying pool where it is massive, the million, you know, everyone it trickles down. Once it's more expensive for the 7 million, they trickle down to the 6 million. So the buying pool starts to go lower and lower.
Mm-hmm.
There's more competition in that area, and that's those properties are moving so quickly. People that already have homes, like let's say I have a $3 million home and I want to keep this rate. I'm just going to rent it out, but I still want to like move other places. But they have a lot more cash to
To make that decision.
yeah.
Yes. Don't disagree with you. I'm just going to say yes. All right. Okay, California Price Index. Median prices have sold. Just like to show you what's going on. Price change was positive, positive, negative. San Diego, San Bernardino, for those of you guys who care about particular regions, I don't care because I'm not buying in California, but some of you guys might care. Okay? Okay. Time on market. 36 days, 18 days, 13 days. Does that seem like a long time on market or a short time on market? Short. I like to see some, when I make an offer, I'd love to see something on the market longer than 100 days, 120 days. Yes, I'm going to make an offer. They might be getting tired. They might want to sell to me at lower than market price. Let's play that. Let's have that conversation. Okay. Affordability index. So anybody know Bruce Norris's affordability index theory? You should. Anybody else? Okay. So Bruce Norris says he's noticed when you line up the charts, he's a chart guy like I am. If you line up the charts, what he's noticed is in Riverside County, when the affordability index, when it ends up that only 11 or 12% can afford to purchase the property out there, that's a breaking point. It just breaks. We don't know why it breaks. It might break because of banking. It might break because of some foreign crisis. It might break for a reason. I'll get to you, Seb. For a reason, but right around there, it seems to break. 2006 and 7 was when he started putting that theory forward. Sev?
What does breaking mean?
It means all of a sudden people are less willing to pay the price that's out there. So the market starts to turn down. Do we know why? It's like a head and shoulders in the stock market. Do we know why it does that? Not necessarily.
And it has to go to only 11% of the population can afford property.
12% or less.
Way lower than
Yeah. You know, okay, and I will borrow a Bruce Norris statement. He's like, that's the power cord to my computer. I think I'll use that. One of the things that he has said is that when the California Association of Realtors or even NARS will say, oh, it's great, 60% of the population can afford to buy a house. When 60% of the population can afford to buy a house, what does housing look like? Huh? It usually means that the prices have fallen significantly, so now more people can afford to buy them. What's the affordability mean? It is the median home divided by the median income by payment, the amount of payment the median income can afford. So if you lower interest rates, then that means more people can afford, right? If you increase prices, it means less people can afford. But if you lower prices and leave the interest rate the same and the median income the same, that means more people can afford again. So when 60% of the population can afford to buy, what does that generally mean? It usually means that the market, the real estate market's actually tanked. More people can afford to buy it, but people don't want to buy it because they're scared. The market's been tanking. So affordability is a flipped number. The least people can afford it, the closer to the top of the market we get. The more people that can afford it is usually on the way down. Okay, so I just showed this for those of us who are Bruce Norris followers that we're at 11, 19, and 24. I'm sorry this didn't transfer very well, but it's what I had. So there you go. Okay, pending sales for California. Went down, and there's a boop boop. It's going back up again. Boop boop. Active listings. Still going down. Okay, so do you see how I have contrary information here? I'm going to go into the economic stuff next. What I want you to take away from this is that I've noticed, and hopefully you've now noticed, that the market looked like it was slowing down, prices looked like they were starting to come down, volume looked like it was still tight, and then we had, after the first of the year, a boop boop. Things started going up again. Prices started going up again. We started having more buyers and sellers getting closer to actually finding a number, and the price itself started increasing again. I have a concern about the boop boop. Why? Because I'm still hoping this is not going to be the 80s. That's really my bottom line. Just letting you know. That's what I'm watching for. Okay, interest rates. Let's move a little faster. So we all know the interest rates went down. They're now at 7%. 7% is the national. I just brokered a loan at 6.34, and now the second loan is 7.2. 7% is the natural, is generally the long-term average previous to the extended downturn that we had. Okay? Fed funds rate. This is the consumer price index. This is the federal funds effective rate. They try to keep the federal funds effective rate to be a little higher than the CPI, which some consider as a version of inflation. With our population growth, we want to see about 2% inflation. That means the economy is growing at about the same rate as our people in the United States is growing. It's just a number. They want to do this. See this? See when it goes up together, right? Consumer price index, Fed increased rates. Here they went up together, 80s, boop, boop. They got it where they wanted it. They got it where they wanted it. See this? Inflation went up first, didn't it? It went up first a lot quicker than it did over here and over there. And then they increased rates. So if you hear them saying they were late to start increasing rates, and they increased rates the fastest they've ever done because they were late to start. It's this gap. Inflation, quote unquote, got ahead of them in comparison to what they've done in the past. That's why. Just in case anybody had that question. That's why. A lot of arrows. Don't need the arrows. Ah, we know this dude, right? We've seen him once in a while, right? News on the street. Chairman Powell. The U.S. Federal Reserve Chairman Powell dampened expectations of impending interest rates cuts on Tuesday, a sign that the Fed may have pumped too much money into the economy during the pandemic, that the surplus is still making its way through the country. That's an important question, and I'm going to talk about that question. Okay, recent data has clearly not given us a clear confidence. This is Powell speaking. Recent data has clearly not given us clear confidence, instead indicating it's likely to take longer than expected to achieve that confidence, which means there are going to be less rate cuts and they're going to be later. Strong job growth is contributing to price gains. In particular, personal consumption expenditure price index, a key inflation metric for the Fed, has little changed in March over its reading in February. Guess what? That little change in March was a boop boop. It was going down. The Fed was happy it was going down. They wanted to see it go down. What's the Fed's job? The Fed's job is to slow down the movement of money, to increase unemployment, to slow down demand so that prices can decrease. But prices didn't decrease February to March. They went across. If higher inflation does persist, we can maintain the current level of restriction for as long as needed. If higher inflation does persist, we can maintain the current level of restriction, which means the current rate, as long as we need. That's what Powell said. Now, what I like about that statement is he didn't say, we're going to make it worse, guys. We're going to turn it up. He didn't say that. He said, we're going to maintain this level of restriction. Okay? I would rather see that. Personal opinion. There's my opinion. Okay? Opinion police, there's my opinion. I would rather see that. Okay? The average price of a home soared over $500,000. He explained that aspiring homeowners could face a two-pronged problem. The rising cost of houses and increased demands for homes if the Fed proceeds with cutting rates before inflation comes down. Because I don't know if I'm going to get, oh, this was backwards. Median home price was surged to over a third within the past 5 years. We know that. 20% increase would rise it to a record 501. All right. John Chang. Anybody know who John Chang is? You can't see the name up there, but John Chang. He's a economic guy I like to follow with Marcus and Millichap. Headline CPI did go down. It's down to 3.1. Core CPI is up by 0.4, not very meaningful. Wall Street reshuffled how soon rates can go down. That means longer hold. Nick and I talked about that earlier. They were hoping 6, now there's 3. I heard somebody the other day say 1. Right? What matters if the Fed moves rates over the next, what matters is if the Fed moves rates over the next 6 to 10 months. Didn't I say that was my bottom line? That's my bottom line too. Wall Street assumes no rate cut in March, so maybe in May or June. I don't know if it's even going to be June. He's saying, bottom line, slow play rate reduction of 0.75% in the second half of the year. Not 1.25, 0.75. What do you think, Nick? You don't even think we're going to do that much? Okay, let's take a quick vote. How many people believe that the Fed's going to start lowering rates after June and it's going to be more than 1 complete percent by the end of the year? Okay? How many people think the Fed's going to start cutting rates at their next meeting? Okay? How many think that the Fed are going to cut rates slowly after June, maybe by 0.75% or 0.5% total by the end of the year? Okay? How many people think the Fed is not going to cut rates at all? Not this year. Okay. How many people think the Fed's going to increase rates? Ah, there's a couple of us on the increase. Okay, there we go. I think the Fed's going to increase rates. I'm following the data. All right. Now, Joseph Wang, the Fed guy, he used to work for the Federal Reserve back in the time of the quantitative easing that we just got out of. He doesn't anymore. He's an independent contractor and consultant. The recent bout of higher inflation prints and resurgent labor market strength, higher inflation and resurgent market strength, changes the timing and number of rate cuts, but does not change the direction, sorry, I have a red box here, of the monetary policy. That's his opinion.
I think I read a statistic that in an election year, they, I don't know if I say never, but within 3 months of the election, they will never move the interest rate.
The Fed rate.
Yeah.
Okay, within 3 months. Interesting, because one would think right before the election you would lower the rate, right? If I'm a Democrat, I want to stay in market, wouldn't I lower the rate? Isn't that just a thought? I'm not politically, I'm not talking one political party or another. I'm just saying, if I'm, or even if I'm a Republican, I'm in market. I'm the president. I want to get reelected. People like the concept of interest rates going down, don't we? It's a political move, wouldn't it be?
Isn't it completely different? The Federal Reserve's not a government.
I think that's why they say the Federal Reserve
It's not.
will stay away.
That's correct. That's correct. They are not. There's monetary and fiscal. That was last year's presentation and monetary. I had to pull it out of this year's presentation, the difference between monetary. Now, okay, I'm not going to go there. I don't have the time. Yield curve. Anybody know about the yield curve? Okay, good. We got some stock and bond guys in here. Okay, if you don't know what the yield curve is, you need to know what the yield curve is. You know what the yield curve is, Alex? Sort of? Okay, well, let's talk about it. All right. Okay. This is a yield curve. This is a positive yield curve or normal yield curve. What does it mean? It means that the rate for the 10-year Treasury is higher than the rate for the 2-year Treasury. 10 years, that's a long time to give somebody my money. I don't want 3% for that. I think rates are going to go up, or they're going to at least go up and go down. I want like 6, 7, 8% for that. But right now, rates are only 3%. So I'm going to buy a long-term bond, and that's going to be 7%, but my short-term bond's going to be 3. That's a positive curve, because we always expect more volatility longer out. In reverse means right now fucking sucks. I want a higher interest rate right now because it sucks. And the future looks better than where I am today, so I'll pay less. I'll get less return for a longer note. That's what a reverse yield curve means. All right. Okay. Historically, when the 2-year or 10-year yield curve inverts, a recession has taken place on average about 19 months later. That's why the yield curve is important. It's because it means people think things suck. There might be a reason why they think things suck. And there might be something happening. And 19 months later, we generally see a recession. Okay, hold on. I passed over something here. I want to,
Can you go back to the slide there? Yes. So generally what this actually means is pessimism by the institutions for the future.
Okay. Versus it sucks right now.
Sucks both times right now.
It sucks though. Yes. Time? Is it? Oh, it's 8:45. Okay. Told you I'd have to go faster. Here is, for those of you who want to take a picture of, this is the Kathy Fettke's chart. This is the one I said, oh my God, I wanted to stop. Effective fund rates is the red, 30-year fixed mortgage rate. Effective fund rates, recession. Effective fund rate, recession. 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 10 out of the last 13 times that the Fed has increased rates, we have had a recession. Okay, moving on. Yield curve, indicator of recession. Since early July of 2022, that exceeds a record of 624-day inversion that occurred in 1978. So this is the longest amount of time it's been since the yield curve is reversed and has stayed reversed since 1978. What happened in 1978, guys? S&L crisis. We had a double increase in the Fed rate in order to control. We don't have a reserve problem. What do you mean by that?
There's legislation that requires banks to hold a certain amount of reserves in their bank.
Yes.
So financial collapse of institutions or bank runs are not going to be popular.
Nope, and they're a lot less likely. And the Fed is also much more likely to come in and bail a bank out these days than I think previously. That's what we've seen. So I agree with you. But banks don't necessarily define whether we have a recession or not, or the stabilities of banks don't necessarily define that either. But it does help support consumer confidence, which is part of what can create a recession, is pure lack of confidence in the financial institution. Yes? You want to debate that? We could debate it.
No, I used to work at Dodd-Frank.
Well, you should be up here.
No.
All right. So there's our yield reversal. Okay. So this, what I wanted to show you was, this is the one we're in right now. Here's where it reversed. Been reversed this whole time. This is what happened in the 80s. 1978, there was the long reversal. Boop, boop, right? This went up, went down, went up. They increased interest rates twice in that time period. That's the last time we saw the long reversal like this. This is what's happened. This is what's happened since they started increasing interest rates. The S&P has continued to has gone up. The market yield on treasuries did this. And there's the reversal right there. 30-year treasury. That's just showing the larger chart. I'm moving on. There's actually a closer relationship between the Fed rate and supply than there is between Fed rate and real estate price. Just so you know, just a chart I've noticed. Surprisingly, price follows GDP more than it follows interest rate. GDP, Case-Shiller National Home Price Index. GDP goes down, real estate goes down. GDP went down, real estate went down. GDP started going down, real estate went down. This was actually the reversal. Real estate went down first, GDP. So there's a greater relationship between those two. All right, what does this mean? It means we're going to have a recession, maybe. That's what it means. It means the Fed hasn't given up their focus on having a recession or having at least a downturn. They talk a lot about a soft landing, and I kind of don't believe, based on their words, that they're going to really want a soft landing. They're going to want to see pain. What are we going to do? We're going to stay calm and keep breathing. Let's talk about jobs. See the boop boop, right? See unemployment, see the boop boop, right? Federal funds rate went up. There's unemployment at the end. Those were all peaks. Unemployment goes down after the funds rate peaks. Unemployment goes down. Or the unemployment rate, increases. Increase, 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 increase. Okay? Labor participation rate, 60%, now it's gone back up again. What does that mean? When we're monitoring how many people are employed, part of it is people who are willing to be employed. So when the participation rate goes down, you're actually not getting a true rating of what it means and how many people are employed or not. Wage growth went down, not surprisingly, but now it went up, and now it's going back down again. There's a little boop boop at the end, but we're not going to worry about that. Wage growth, want to see 4%. Okay. Participation rate, again, there it is. This is what I want to get to. This is the personal savings rate. We don't save a lot as Americans. I'm just telling you, we don't save a lot. Generally, we save 3 to 5%. What did we do during COVID? We didn't spend money. I know. Amazon was the only place we could spend money, right? So we saved a lot, right? But the labor and participation rate went down. But what's important to me is the Fed wants you to spend through your savings so that you will actually stop spending money. Did we spend through our savings? Yeah, we've gotten closer to spend through our savings. Because that's what the Fed is wanting to hold long enough that we actually spend through our savings. Okay? And US consumer credit card debt has risen to an all-time high of $1 trillion, according to the Federal Reserve. Because we've spent through our savings, and now what are we doing? We're using our credit cards. Right? Senior industry analyst Bankrate recently found that 47% of credit card holders are now carrying debt from month to month, up from 40% in 2021. Okay, US credit card debt has increased by $45 billion from Q1 to Q2, leading to an all-time high. Nearly 50% of credit card holders are carrying debt. And raising figures show a strong consumer economy and lower reliance on cash. Right, so it's a stronger credit card economy. What do we care? This is from Bankrate.com. Why do we care? Because we care about what the Fed's going to choose to do about the boop boop. That's what we're trying to figure out. Is the Fed going to increase rates, keep rates the same longer, or are they going to decrease and cut rates sooner? Personal savings rate. Why do I have it a second time? I don't know why I have it a second time. All right, but here's an interesting thing. This is current. Like, this was a podcast like 5 days ago. Does anybody know this dude? Okay, cool. He's got a lot of followers. This is his data. List of layoffs over the last 4 months. Zoop. The Fed wants to increase unemployment. The Fed wants to burn through savings. So even though we're seeing strengthening in certain parts of the market, we're also seeing softening in parts of the market that the Fed cares about. This is going to show up as increased unemployment. Right? Lack of savings and increased credit card is going to show up. Okay, I am not going to do apartments right now. You want to ask me about apartments? You can ask me later. Okay. News on the street. No, that's important. Fly in the ointment. Basically, what is it that's been holding up single-family residence prices, guys? Lack of inventory. Why is there a lack of inventory? Because there's a gap of anywhere of 2.5 million homes up to 6 million homes, which will take us, to keep up with demand, would take us 3 to 4 years worth of development at more than what we're doing right now, which, by the way, is down again, in order to even fill in the gap. So fly in the ointment is nearly a decade of underbuilding has led to a shortfall of 3 to 6 million houses still in 2024. Residential real estate will move in its own trajectory. We saw earlier that not every downturn creates a problem in residential real estate. There's an opportunity here that this downturn isn't going to create a big windfall in real estate because it has its own trajectory. It's in a micro market of its own. There isn't enough units. Now, is that true across all units? No. Is that true across all regions? No. But if you're a real estate investor, what does that mean? One, if you own real estate, maybe it's not going to go down that much. Two, if you're looking to purchase real estate, start buying, because it's not going to go really, it's not going to have a huge downturn. I've been buying for 6 months now because I don't think it's going to go down very far. So I want to take advantage of what downturn I am going to see. All right, this is news on the street, some really good articles I found that if you guys want to grab on those, just take a picture of that. I thought these were some really good articles on real estate, specifically in multifamily. Okay, national debt. Are we deeply concerned about our national debt? Okay, let's clarify some things about the national debt. We hold most of our own debt. It's not actually held by foreign countries. There are a lot of foreign countries that hold our debt, but they don't hold the bulk of our debt. We actually hold the bulk of our own debt. And I was listening to a lady tonight who said, and if we own our own debt, can't we just print our own money? I didn't say I agreed with her or disagreed with her. I'm just telling you the thought I heard tonight. Okay? The debt ceiling was raised 74 times from March of 1962 to May of 2011. So, yeah, raising the debt is a problem, but it happens a lot. This is not new. The debt equates to about $100,000 per person in the US. It sounds like a lot, but the sum so far has not appeared to threaten the US economy. This, for those of you who like charts, guess who has the highest debt to GDP? Japan. Guess who's next? Greece. Guess who's next? Italy. Guess what number we are? 12. For those of you who like charts, there we are. That's 12. Debt to GDP. Here's Japan, 261. Greece, Italy. These numbers have not changed much, by the way. Sorry, Art. These numbers have not changed much since last year, or even since we had the recession. First time we actually went above 100% of GDP since World War II, before World War II. So do I care about the debt? Yes. Do I care a lot about the debt? No, I don't actually care a lot about the debt. I don't care a lot about it. The indicator, the thing that's going to make this economy unwieldy isn't going to be our debt payments by itself. Okay? Yeah?
I'd like to point out the U.S. has a near perfect financial strength rating. It only went just a little bit below perfect within this last year.
That is correct. So, if I may talk to that for a minute, Max. My concern isn't about the debt. My concern is about the U.S.'s relationship inside the world as an economic leader. And will we lose that position? I care more about that. Does that make sense? I'm going to be doing some research on that in the next 6 months, so hopefully it'll be in the next economic update, because there is a pattern to this. France used to be the economic leader. London was the economic leader. We are now the current economic leader. We will lose our position. It's just a question of when. Art.
Where's China on this chart?
I don't think China made it on the top 10 list. I don't think, yeah, they don't represent their numbers properly. Thank you to whoever said that. Okay, but this is our debt. This is our. I wanted to put this into context. This is our GDP. The United States, China, Japan. When we say we're the biggest economy on the planet, we actually are. We actually are. The only thing that is slightly bigger than us is the EU as a whole. So I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just saying there's a reason why we define the international market, and there's a reason why people keep coming back to our dollar. And it's not because we're such great people or that we're such bad people, okay? So let's put all of that aside. It's not because we're so great or we're so bad. It's because we really are the big guy on the block right now. We just are. For good or bad, we just are. Okay? And here is the UK, which has a smaller GDP than we do, has a higher level of debt. There's our debt. 5 top tiers by debt by country. Okay, What does this mean? Yes, we had to raise the debt ceiling, but we often do. We're not the only country with debt. We also have the largest GDP of the world. Right? GDP. There, same chart. GDP. It's been flat. A little boop boop, but not as much as we need. GDP declining by only a little bit. This was all COVID. You guys know to ignore this number and ignore that number, right? Ignore it. You can't see it anyways because it's yellow.
They cancel each other.
They cancel each other out. It's COVID. GDP went way down because nobody was making anything, and then we figured out, you know what, let's buy from Amazon, and everything went back, and got a lot of money in the system, and then went back up. Ignore it. Inflation. Why does inflation happen? Yes, distribution, we had a distribution disruption and an oversupply of money. We got a lot of inflation. Boop, boop. But will they care? That's what I care about. Will Powell care? That's what I care about. Inflation. Producer price index, core inflation, core CPI, boop boop. Another version of core CPI. Shelter, cost of shelter. Do everybody seeing a lot of boop boop? I'm trying to point out the boop boops. What I care about is, and this is shadow stats for anybody who likes the shadow stats, it doesn't really, they didn't update for the 2024 yet, sorry. So no boop boop on this one. The big picture. My version of the big picture. Ooh, it's 9 o'clock, and I'm at my second and the third last slide. Woohoo! The Fed has increased rates that creates a known cascade. We get a recession. We get housing down, stocks down, jobs down, wages down. We know unemployment will increase. We know that we will have a slowing in the market. We know that these things are going to happen. What's the question is what you're going to do about it. Not whether it's going to happen or not, but how are you going to be in relationship to it? Are you going to take advantage of it? Are you going to buy properties? Are you going to properly set up your existing properties so that they work? You're not going to see a big, if you own residential, you're not going to see a big downturn. I intentionally did not touch on industrial or office in this conversation. Those are also in micro markets, which I'm happy to talk about at the end of the meeting, but I didn't put it in here. It takes time to see the results, and we're not there yet, but almost. The inflation is understandable. The Fed has stopped paying bonds that let the rate increase. Inflation has hit, that was more last year. The inflation has hit due to COVID restraints, but is now being used, and now we're finally seeing the softening. We're losing the reserves. We're racking up our credit cards. People are either going to have to start going back to work, or they're going to have to stop spending money. And that's what the Fed is looking for. They're looking for them to stop spending money. How far and how hard the Fed will need to go isn't clear. We're waiting to see. Is this the 80s? I hope it's not the 80s. I don't want to see the 80s. I want to see them hold, in my opinion, I want to see them hold the rate longer and let all those, remember all those job losses that we talked about that haven't really shown up yet? I want to let those show up. And I'm hoping the Fed will wait to find out if those are going to show up or not. That's what I'm hoping. I don't think we're going to see a cut in the rate given the boop boops, right? The Fed can't cut rates. They can't cut them in May. I don't think they can cut them in June. I think they want those boop boops to start to bleed back out again. That's what I think is going to happen. So I think they're going to hold until, I don't know, August, September. Maybe they won't go down at all this year. But as real estate investors, what does that mean to us? That means the longer they hold, the longer the people will be tired sellers, the softer the prices will get. The easier it will be for us to step into regions that are having a hard time. So what does that mean to me? It means I'm going to continue to buy. What's it called? Dollar cost averaging? I think that's what it's called, dollar cost averaging and investing in bonds or stocks. You start buying as it's going down, but you keep buying as it's going down. So I buy in Indianapolis, I'm going to keep buying as I'm going down until such time as the Fed actually makes a downturn. Because the market got excited because the Fed stopped. Stocks went up. People started spending money again. People thought, oh my God, the Fed's going to cut rates. Okay, let's start living life again. We're not afraid anymore. We got a boop boop. But when they see that the Fed's going to hold the rates and they actually lose their jobs, I think that's going to solve that problem. What is clear is we're not at the bottom of this thing, even though the Fed has stopped their increases. Da-da-da, bottom line. This is what I said at the beginning. We're waiting to see if the Fed holds or if there's a cut or increase. Hold will be unfolding for 1 year or more. If the Fed's holding, we're going to see at least another year of continual softening. That's going to affect real estate. Increase will create a clear downturn. If they increase rates, what's going to happen? Oh, fuck. That's what everybody's going to say in their head, right? Oh, crap. I thought we were going for a soft landing. I guess not. And that sentiment alone can make it true. Decrease before June risks too quick an uptick, in my opinion. I hope they don't increase before June. Right? I hope they don't decrease before June. Okay, guys, we've been asking questions along the way, so I'm assuming there are no questions. Remember, lots of free resources. I am your real estate investment advisor. I care about you being successful in investing in real estate. Are we all good?